If your doctor told you that your thyroid labs are normal, but you still feel really bad, let's talk about that today. What's going on? What are some other things that you can look at? First of all, let's talk about the medication that you may be possibly taking. That's a synthetic T4. That medication is not in its active form. Your body has to convert that. So your body has to convert that synthetic T4 into the active form T3 before your cells can actually utilize that. So one of the things that when you're a practitioner who looks at TSH and T4 says everything is okay, everything looks normal, there's a lot more to that story. And in some of the other videos, we've talked about the individual labs and what you need to be asking for. So let's go into some of these other things. If you have systemic inflammation, for instance, that's going to hamper that T4 to T3 conversion. And lots of us have inflammation. That's one of the most common things that we all deal with. So systemic inflammation lowers your ability to convert T4 into its active form of T3. And one of the other things that happens during that conversion under circumstances of high inflammation is that you make something that's called reverse T3, and it is a biochemical reverse image, a reverse mirror image of that molecule. So when that T3 is in a reverse form, it tries to go to the binding sites and it doesn't fit in, but it shows up as T3 in your lab. So even if your doc said, let's go into a deeper dive and check your T3 as well, that's the active form. Okay, great. If they're not checking the reverse T3, then you don't know how much of that T3 that you have is actually in an available form to lock into those receptor sites. So systemic inflammation, and we talked about this in the other video with the labs, looking at TPO and thyroglobulin antibody, you want to rule out Hashimoto's. That's an inflammatory condition that affects thyroid significantly. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you're seeing a functional med doc, they're often going to look at other hormone labs because your hormones don't operate in a vacuum. They interact with each other significantly. So for instance, women that are having a really high level of estrogen or estrogen dominance, that's also going to affect that T4 to T3 conversion. And things that affect your energy, T3 affects your mitochondrial function, your ability to make energy at the cellular level. So T3 upregulates your mitochondrial function. And then high cortisol, lots of us have significant stress that's ongoing. We live in a world that's, we don't really get a downtime or a break from cortisol production. So high cortisol also inhibits that T4 to T3 conversion. So you want to look at all these things. So basically, when you're taking a medication that's a synthetic T4 and you're still not seeing the results, you're not crazy. I know everybody's known somebody, a friend down the street or whatever, who took their thyroid meds and they do fantastic and they lost weight and they feel great. And then you take it and you don't feel great and you're wondering what's wrong with me. Well, you're not crazy. There's just more to the story and we're all individuals. So it's a good idea to check with a functional med doc and run through all of these labs and get the whole picture. And if this is your story, know that there are answers out there and you can always book a consultation with us at Holistic Health Center of Savannah, hhcofsavannah.com. All right, we'll cover some more in the next video. See you then.